Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Progressive Queens, the show that talks about all things progressive politics with my three panelists, Kat, Mickey, and Talisha. Say hello, guys.
Hi.
Kat, we didn't hear you.
Hi from the
Okay, there
darkness.
she is. There she is. So, we're going to talk about a couple of things today before we get to our main topic. And the news, surprisingly, has been really good on the COVID vaccine. If you all were watching last week, you know that I got my first vaccine Friday before last and had some really bad side effects. And then I go for my second one the 13th of next month. So it'll be real interesting to see what my side effects are. But so far, they're projecting it's like what 100 million vaccines have been given out so far
hmm
plus, and the goal is 200 million with by June or July. I forget which one it is.
He said within the first 100 days. So whatever the 100-day mark from January
Oh, they
20.
changed that one. Once he hit the 100-day goal after 59 days, they upped it, but I forget what they upped it to and when the deadline was.
That's what it was. The 200 million. He's
Oh, it
now
was
projecting the
okay.
200 million in the first 100 days.
Yeah, so I guess I'm shocked that Biden seems to be handling this pretty well because I thought, okay, how's he gonna mess this up? What is he gonna do? And he shocked me, audience. I'm shocked.
Well, I think he was smart to have people that had experience. I think Ron Plame, his chief of staff, used to actually run the Ebola outbreak response team. So they came in with experience. And unlike Trump's team that just decided it was going to magically disappear, that it was a hoax, that it wasn't real, even though they were secretly taking the vaccine and not sharing that with his loyal base, for lack of a better term. They have people that know what they're doing. And so it's a good thing. And I hope they continue it and we can get rid of this deadly pandemic that is, killing us.
There's still a problem with the rural areas getting it.
Absolutely.
I'm 72. I have 4 autoimmune disorders and several, can't even remember the word, several counterindications,
hmm
and I still haven't gotten it. We get notified, and before we even set up the appointment, they ran out.
Well, in a lot of places, to include New York, that crony capitalism is live and proud, and they're making sure that their rich buddies get it, their moneyed
Yep.
interests get it. We just heard a report that Cuomo gave special
Yep.
treatment to his brother to get the not only the testing ahead of everyone else. It got driven by the state troopers to the testing facility. So I would not be surprised that the
Wait a minute.
vaccine.
And
Hold on.
not just not just his brother, his family and his friends.
Mhm.
Hold
Dozens of
on. Wait a
people.
minute. I'm missing this. You said that he got. I thought his brother was in Atlanta.
His brother's in New York. When he was first diagnosed with COVID, or probably thought he was coming down with the symptoms, his brother pushed him ahead of the priority. And this was what, like, shoot, 8 months ago? So that's when everybody was feeling this way. Everybody was like, could I have it? Could I not have it? Where can I even get a test? Well, he sent state troopers to go and deliver the testing kit and rush the testing kit to the facility to be jumped ahead of everyone else tests, to, like Mickey said, to include his
And,
other family as well as his rich cronies.
And
and
nobody
did
on
you
the
see
news
that?
said anything.
We just found out this week.
And he also, several counties are complaining because they were against him and they called for him to resign. They're not getting their vaccines. And he's claiming it has nothing to do with that.
Even though the guy he has as like the head COVID guy, I don't know who he is. I can't remember his name. He was calling around to those
Yep,
representatives asking for their loyalty, and basically that
yep,
would determine whether they got the vaccine.
yep.
Mm-mm-mm. That is
Corruption on top of
shameful.
corruption.
That is shameful. And I've heard reports, that's the same thing that's happening in Florida with their governor. He's selling it to his, making sure his friends get it first.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm sorry, Kat, you were trying to say something.
The thing that I find interesting is one of the points, though, that I have to say I remember from the Como history was the fact that with his brother getting sick, and then their mother was staying at Chris Como, that's the newscaster's house at the time. So in a way, as bad as it does seem, who wouldn't do that if it was their mother's, that was automatically put at risk? I'm not defending anyone's actions, and especially people in power. They're supposed to be, lead by example, or actually represent the rest of the populace, i.e. be subjected to the same situations that we are. But if the mother was staying at Chris's house at the time that he got sick, I don't know what I would do in those circumstances.
I mean, that might be an out we give if, family, family first, but that doesn't explain the rich cronies getting that preferential treatment as well.
Yeah.
So
No, I totally, not a hope on that one. But they are going to. I knew they were going to auction it off. It's the same as right now getting the myocardial antibodies if you actually start to get sick. Why is there such a challenge to get those?
Right.
And that's everywhere. Like that is very selective medicine that's being administered.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very expensive, extremely expensive.
And did you hear how those ghouls at Big Pharma are already marketing the next phase of the vaccine, the boosters, things to keep it in your system? They're talking about they can make a heck of a profit on that. Like, they are just disgusting. Like, folks are still dying. Matter of fact, I think I just read like 16 states numbers just increased.
Yes, that's just what I was about to talk about. Indiana is one of those states where our COVID numbers have gone up.
And they're talking about the next money-making venture.
And look at all the spring breakers. Since it takes a week or two before it shows, they're going home to their home states and spreading it there. Meanwhile, DeSantis can say, spring break, we didn't have an increase here.
Mm-hmm.
And then you wonder why states are lifting, like states like Texas and Indiana and Florida and Georgia and all. It seems like every southern state and every state that Trump won is lifting their mask mandates, and they really shouldn't be.
They should not.
Like, are you thinking, or do you just not want to believe the virus exists, or what is it that you're thinking? Because this isn't good.
Well, I think the thought process is they already got the vaccine, so they're safe. All the rich folk and all the people the powers that be that are making these decisions, they've got it. They're safe. So if they do come into contact with somebody who has COVID, their chances of catching it are diminished, and their chances of, if they do catch it, if it being severe, is it's really diminished. So it's going to be just like the flu for them, as opposed to the rest of us who can't get it, who aren't protected, who are doing the right thing, that will die most likely because we all have comorbidities. And that's just what it is.
Do they know what the flu feels like? The flu feels like garbage.
And you also have to remember that there have been bean counters sitting there with the death toll numbers and figuring out the advantages and disadvantages with the shareholder economy that we all function under. We don't function under an economy for the people. We function under a shareholder. And some bean counter has gone and said, maybe we should look at this as a bonus. And let's be honest, you've killed off the elderly, which, let's be honest, the bean counters like to consider a burden on society, instead of the fact that these people have earned their right to where they are and how they live.
Exactly.
No, somebody has done the calculation. And believe me, the decisions being made now are based on those calculations, because those are the calculations coming from pharma. They don't care if the lower end die off, because they can't afford to buy the drugs. They can't afford to keep participating in this consumer-driven economy. So trust me, bean counters, especially pharmaceutical bean counters, and that includes all of the big pharma, Johnson and Johnson, Pfizer, all of them. They have people that literally calculate the mortality rate to decide whether it's worthwhile to proceed on an action. One
And
in
another
particular, yeah.
another
Oh, go ahead,
advantage,
Nikki, sorry.
another advantage is it's killing off a lot more people of color than it is
Absolutely.
whites.
Yep. Yep, and indigenous. It's hitting. That's why
Yeah.
one of the strategies here in Canada is they actually put the indigenous people up in the top categories for the phases, like bypassing the age category and putting them right into getting the vaccine quicker.
Wow.
Yeah, and you
Yeah,
think,
it's devastating the reserves.
and to think our tax dollars go to big pharma to come up with cures for these diseases. It's like Mike's, and then
Well,
you're turning around.
and the kicker is a lot of the big money solutions, i.e. medicines, should not even involve money. You have, with diabetes, you have insulin. The man who invented insulin donated it to the University of Toronto, donated it. And since then, how many billions and trillions of dollars, and I'll probably put a T on it, are being made off it. And supported, let's be honest, probably by Big Sugar. Then you have
they have to do something about the patents. All they have to do is change one minor little thing in the formula.
Yep.
One minor
All they
thing,
have to do,
and they have a new patent.
Exactly.
That never
that's why the
expires.
thing is, yeah, and usually all it is inserting a filler of some sort or a coating. It actually is nothing to do with the actual medical pharmaceutical benefits of the medicine. Great example of a money maker that affected me personally because I knew the developer of the drug and I also knew how it devastated her was the EpiPen. I knew one of the scientists who developed it. She just passed away actually this year, the year in 2020, and when she found out what was happening with it, it was devastating to her. That's totally the opposite of what she was wanting to accomplish. Right. And how can you make something that everyone should have that has anybody in their family with allergies available to them, and now you've made it completely out of the ballpark, like so many other medications that these pharmaceutical companies not only never did the R&R, they literally have hijacked and stolen every aspect of it. Every aspect of it.
Or even when they do the R&R, it's government funded. They get a huge fund from the government, and then they turn around and sell it to us at a 300% markup or more.
And then what they do, and the money that they could have spent in R&R, but instead got from the government, they utilize that money into the marketing. Exactly. And then we have selling sickness. Let's just keep pushing the meds, pushing the meds, pushing the meds. Look at the opioid crisis. That was fully funded, marketed, and sold by pharmaceutical companies.
Well, it
they increased the drug addicts better than absolutely anybody else could have. All those years of illicit drug use.
Yeah, but keep in mind, Kat, that wasn't a problem until white people started to get addicted to opioids, because when it was in the Black community and people of color community, it was totally ignored. And doctors kept prescribing it, and then once it hit the white population, now it's a problem.
Right. Well, actually, with opioids, they were so insistent that Black people were going to abuse it, they didn't prescribe us. And they only overly prescribed it to white people, and that's why it's affecting them.
Oh no!
Our bane of existence.
That was a factor as well. It's exactly. It's the same as they always negate to mention. The cocaine abuse that you see coming out of the 80s and 90s, etc. You got to remember, you have a whole group of children that were fed Ritalin, which is a derivative of a component similar to cocaine. I'm not saying that that's a bad idea, but I know in Canada, the rules were absolutely barbaric. oh, we'll give the child Ritalin, I can't remember, I think the age was 14 or 15, then we'll wean them off it, but by 18, no prescriptions were allowed over the, so essentially you've raised this human with this drug on board for the last 10 years of their life, and now because they've reached the magic age of puberty, you're going to cut them off the med.
Exactly.
Well, you
Yeah, and
a little over, a little under 2
Pardon?
years ago, there was a House committee, a subcommittee investigating drug prices. The
Mhm.
committee sent letters to all the big pharma companies telling them, we demand to see your cost price index. Mark Meadows and Jim Jordan also, who were on that committee, also sent letters to Big Pharma telling them, do not cooperate or it will affect your stock prices.
Wow.
Are these people? They're both? They're not in Congress, are they?
Jim
Yes.
Jordan is. Mark
Jim, I
Meadows
could-
ended up being Trump's chief of staff.
Yeah.
Look the other way, Jordan.
Mhm.
Seriously, a
Yeah,
man
'cause
who
that
turns
name
his
sounds
back while
familiar. I'm
young
like,
men are being abused.
is he
But
still
can you
being
imagine?
elected?
Can you imagine being on the committee and knowing that these letters are going out and then contacting the same companies, telling them not to cooperate?
I can
Why
imagine
wasn't
what
that?
happens in the
Why
establishment
wasn't that blown up all over the news?
because that's a
Exactly.
bipartisan thing.
Because they buy those silly commercials. Don't
Mm.
take this if you have brown eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Don't take this if you have certain diseases, and they name off 20,000 things you can't have. I mean,
But
they're
they
the
all
ones on the commercials.
it's that way with every prescription drug.
Exactly.
If they have 10,000 people who it helps and one has a side effect, they have to report that side effect.
Right.
Over the counter drugs, they don't have to. Yeah, we talked about that last time, the dangers of aspirin and
Right.
Tylenol. They're
Or if
good
they've
drugs.
grandfathered in.
You're
Or if
breaking
they've
up, Pat.
grandfathered in. If they've grandfathered them in. Aspirin would be prescribed med if it hadn't been grandfathered in.
Wow.
Because then they could charge more for it.
True.
Trust me, if they could figure out a way to patent plants, which is what they want. That's why they've never embraced cannabis. That's why they don't embrace a lot of herbal medicine and poo-poo it completely. It's because they can't patent a plant. That has been decided and already ruled, and that'll be a big push up the hill again regarding it, and it will come to pass. But no, so all they're doing right now, you only have certain components in the world, right, that you can make medicines out of. So they're just making up little riches brews, and half of the time the new meds are comprised of side effects, and then they realize, oh, that side effects will benefit that group. Okay, we'll market
Yeah.
it for them instead of this group.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think
Isn't that how Viagra
I was
started?
about to say
Yeah,
that.
that's just, well, you must have been thinking just what I was
Yeah,
thinking.
Viagra was
Yeah.
to treat something else, and then they
Blood
saw,
pressure.
oops, something else
Heart
popped
med.
up.
Wasn't it like a heart med at first or something?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then
it was
something else
blood
popped up.
pressure.
And then
Something
found
else
out it
popped
was
up.
making them hardy somewhere else.
Yeah, I was just about to mention Viagra. I'm like,
Yeah,
Something else
yeah,
popped up.
perfect. Yeah.
Kat, you keep
No,
breaking up.
It's
A
smart.
great
So
book
for
to read.
yeah, and
A great
that's
book
smart
to read.
marketing. If it was like for stuff like that, for Viagra and things that are just like recreational, I'm cool with that. Make your money. But stuff that's going to save someone's life, there should not be, first of all, there shouldn't be a profit margin, but there doggone sure shouldn't be 1,000 times the markup. Like, I think that's what Joe Manchin's daughter did. And she's like the head of some pharmaceutical company. And y'all correct me if I'm wrong. It's either EpiPens or inhalers. I can't remember which one.
she did the inhalers. I thought the guy, I can't think of the guy's name that did the EpiPens, and he
The
was
one
like,
Scarelli.
yeah, he was like,
No,
I'll
he
do what
had
I
the
want
HIV
to.
med. Yeah,
Basically,
he had the HIV
yeah,
med.
he was like, I'm not gonna be shamed because like the media came really down hard on him. He's like, I don't care. I'm gonna make my money no matter what you say. I can't think of his name though.
I think it's Scarelli. It was the HIV med up in New York, but he actually got locked up behind his mess because, like, I think he went too far. And I want to know where that line is because
Yeah,
1,000 is not too much, but 10,000% is too much. Like,
yeah, and the fact that, you know, and I always use insulin as an example because it's the easy example for me to use. If it wasn't for insurance, insulin would be, not that I don't believe in Medicare for all, because I do. It would be, insulin costs at least $1,300. At least. That's like the cheap brand Novolin, like the bottom tier. And you have
yeah,
diabetics basically rationing their insulin, which that's not good.
no.
People have died because of that.
Yeah, people have literally died. That's not good to ration your insulin. They're eating it, you know, because if you take it to eat, you can't just choose whether you're going to eat or take insulin. It's both. You
Right.
can't just, okay, I'm not going to eat. No, you pretty much have to, because you're going to be laying out if you don't. And I think it infuriates me that we had this movement a couple of years ago where people were going to Canada to get their prescriptions because they were much cheaper. And I know in Indiana, they were having laws against that. Like, you couldn't round up a bus to go to Canada to get your prescriptions. So I'm like, but how does Eli Lilly get away with like increasing their cost every year? So you're going to tell me it's illegal to go get cheaper drugs, but then you're going to just wink, wink, let them increase their price? Okay, that makes no sense to me.
And that's why I stopped liking Cory Booker. I found out from the Young Turks that when there was this big push, of course, Bernie spearheaded it, to get our meds from Canada because it was cheaper. And Cory Bush stood in the way of that.
You mean Booker?
Who did I say? Cory Bush?
You said Cory Bush. I was like,
My bad. I love Cory Bush. I'm sorry, girl. Cory Booker stood in the way of that, saying, well, we don't know where those drugs come from. The same place we get our drugs from now, but it'll be a direct link as opposed to going through the pharmaceutical companies.
And there are plenty of times our companies in the United States sells these drugs to other countries, including Canada,
way
And
and
cheaper.
sells them for much, much cheaper, so that Canada can sell them to the people at a price so low, it completely undercuts the company's prices here. Same drug.
Well, a better example of the undercutting of prices and the proper pricing is actually, because Canada, we're getting dinged a little bit here, but New Zealand's laws and what she's done there regarding pharmaceuticals is absolutely amazing.
She's
Like
amazing.
Canada, we're good for insulin because that would people, but even like my niece, who it still would be close to 1,000 with the specialist stuff that she needs. Like once you start talking that, yeah.
Yeah, the whole medical field is garbage. They build a model not to make people well, but just to get them, just to keep them,
Yeah.
just to make them sicker. It's like, okay, we can't make money if people are well.
Well,
Yeah.
that's why there's an excellent book out there a while ago I read called Selling Sickness. And literally it goes through, especially some of the more popular drugs that are having to be prescribed for the larger body of people, and how the drug companies facilitated literally getting the diagnoses stipulations changed for categories so they could increase the amount of people that they were giving these meds to. And it's happened with antidepressants, blood pressure medications, across the board. There has been, one of the biggest marketing strategies that, and then they market it like that, and then they export the manufacturing of it. Because the big chunk, that's the thing, isn't even done in North America anymore. They've exported. I know in Canada, we exported to India. And we got to watch when we went to do a quality audit from Canada, the government people came to check on the India pharmaceutical company, not to be rude, but the guy holding the data had a pile of it in his hand and was running out the back door to avoid the government auditors.
Right.
I don't think that looks good.
No, it does. But you know what? It really makes me um tripped up mad about that is, has anyone noticed there hasn't been a cure to a disease in a while? It's just like make
Mm-hmm.
them. There hasn't been a cure for a disease since I can't
Malaria.
not in my lifetime.
Mm.
I'm trying to think of something that scientists actually cured, and I'm sitting here like I can't
Wow.
think of anything. My head,
I think they just cured malaria, but it's really hard to catch malaria, so it's not a moneymaker
yeah,
anymore.
it's not a money making one. I'm trying to think of the one
And
that the March of Dimes helped cure.
Muscular dystrophy?
No,
muscular, no, no, not cured.
Oh, dang.
I can't think of this.
MS, not
Not
cured.
Not
polio.
MS. Um,
Polio?
polio. That's
Polio
it.
is a virus. Is a virus.
Yeah, polio's a virus. But they
Yeah,
came up
but
with the
actual
vaccine.
disease.
Yeah, an actual disease. Anybody in the comments wants to comment about something that scientists have actually cured, please educate me because I'm sitting here like, uh, uh, it's like that. It's like the whole health industry is just built around. And now I realize what Marianne
My
Williamson
free
was
job.
saying when she asked that question about Medicare for all. We don't look at why people are getting sick. We just treat the sickness. And
Of
that
course.
I didn't understand that when she was saying it. It's like, oh, now I get it. Like I literally just it just entered my head. I'm like, yeah, because we haven't cured any major diseases
Some forms of leukemia can be cured if
Mm.
caught early enough.
if
Some
caught
forms.
early enough.
Some
I'm talking
forms.
about something where it's eradicated, it's gone, it's never showing its ugly head again. And I can't, I'm sitting there like scratch my head, like I can't think of not one thing.
And you won't because it's big business, baby.
Well,
Yeah.
well, actually, and the interesting thing about leukemia, it was largely worked on by hematologists and other people outside the pharmaceutical industry, as in a lot of cancer cures that are actually facilitating, because leukemia and a couple other diseases are, the cure actually lies in medical intervention, less pharmaceutical intervention, i.e., whether it's bone marrow transplants, things
Yeah.
like that. You know, I'm not saying that they're much better, but it seems that the further away you get from the pharmaceutical companies, the actual more medicine is actually happening.
Exactly. It's like they're just putting up all these medicines. It's like as long as we can keep you sick. I think I was hearing something. It was a panel where the chairman, and this doesn't seem to have to do with it, but it does once I thought about it. The chairman or CEO of Whole Foods was saying, if you eat like a great diet, which the statement is true, if your diet and your exercise are good, you lower your chances of getting diseases. That's absolutely true. Problem is, he forgot to mention that you tend to spend your whole check if you go to Whole Foods to buy anything. He forgot that part, but his initial part, it does make sense. If you're eating healthy, you're exercising, those will lower your cost of getting diseases. However, when it's cheaper to get a Big Mac than to get a salad, well, which one are you going to eat if you're not making that much? So there's a whole lot of different things that connect to it.
And then there's the other part where people who can only afford to shop at the big supermarkets,
Yep.
they try to eat healthy. You don't know what chemicals were sprayed on those vegetables. You don't know what poisons were in the soil on those good vegetables.
Right.
And let's
Mm-hmm.
not
And
forget,
growing is a significant thing. Example, Intercept just put out a good report on paraquat and how it was being used because it's an amazing defoliator and absolutely can eradicate crops. But the thing is, we also know that it's heavily poisoning. If they spray for insects, gypsy moth, it was one of the studies I was involved in here in Canada with the BC government. And they were saying, oh, it's a respiratory. That's what we're concerned about. But upon completion of my report, the results were very clear that it wasn't respiratory that was affecting people when they sprayed for the gypsy moth. And I mean, big sprays with planes. It was gastro. Saw a significant number of people come in with gastro problems after they sprayed for gypsy moth, which means it's on the food.
Yeah.
Yep, it is. And like Mickey said, you don't know what's going on. I mean, even those of us who are not vegan, who eat like meat, you don't know what, you have no idea what those animals are eating. You
They're
have
pumping
no
them full
we-
of hormone.
They're
yeah,
full
what
of
kind of
hormones,
they're on.
hormones and antibiotics.
Yeah, you don't
They
know. It's
Oh,
pump
like,
them full of antibiotics so that they grow faster and bigger. And then people, that's probably where antibiotic resistance came from
True.
in people.
one
that's
of
a
the
good
factors.
point.
One of the major factors that contributed to it, plus the overprescription of antibiotics for children, instead of actually dealing with the inflammation in the ears by dealing with the inflammation, they insisted on putting every child on antibiotics. So you essentially had a whole group of kids that grew up in the late 70s through the 80s up until the early 90s was when they first started to recognize, oh, maybe we shouldn't hand out antibiotics like lollipops. Not
Well,
the
maybe
best
only
idea we have.
some. Maybe only some, because they're still handing it out like candy.
No,
Like
not
I'm not.
every time my daughter gets an ear infection, they're prescribing amoxicillin. Anytime she gets like some type of lymph node swelling because of some viral thing, they prescribe an antibiotic.
I have
Now,
MRSA, and I was never really prescribed antibiotics in my life. Never really had a problem. So where did it come from with me? There's
Wow.
only one antibiotic left that will fight an infection in me, and we have to double the dose for 3 or 4 weeks.
Wow.
And each time it takes longer, and eventually that's not going to work anymore.
Right.
that was
and I
So
me,
where
it's
did it come from?
MRSA, but
You know-
I acquired
oh,
mine at the hospital. We figured out that when I got sick with it, because it almost killed me. I actually had it in my head and face,
Wow.
and my whole face, I looked like Quasimodo. And that was good medicine for two. I had been complaining of a headache for almost a month. And then I went to the doctor and he told me it was allergies. And I went, it's not allergies.
Right.
Then I went back to him. He told me again it was allergies. That time he threw the packet at me of allergy meds. I looked at him and went, okay. Left there, landed up in emergency within 24 hours, green oozing out of my face.
Oh.
And now I'm on the triple prescriptions, like similar to Mickey. I have to get 3 different antibiotics put into my IVs, and it's not a pleasant circumstance because it's a regime. But that was due to my workplace. That was due to the hospital because one of the things is MRSA is prevalent in hospitals.
Yeah.
Big time.
wow. And I have never had an antibiotic ever prescribed to me. Ever. I've
Really?
never taken an antibiotic ever.
Yes, it just depends
You're
on where
just
you
a,
are.
you are just like so pure. Doesn't drink, doesn't smoke.
No,
nothing can
no, but
stop it.
Yeah, but I got enough chronic diseases to fill a book. But no, I guess my doctor is different. She's like the last thing, they got a big sign out where I go to. It's like antibiotics are the last thing we're not gonna prescribe them.
Oh, it's a beautiful thing.
They
That's
just
just
are
a-
I had to
That's a good thing.
I had to insist and throw a tantrum with my doctor after years of suffering. I finally got him to refer me to a infectious diseases specialist, and she was the only one who was able to help me
Wow.
because he wouldn't listen. I suddenly, out of the blue, maybe 20 years ago, all of a sudden started developing cysts,
Mm.
mostly on my back and on my head, but all over my body, including in my mouth. And the only thing that could be, and they'd get infected, and I'd have to go have them removed. I mean, my back looks like a crossword, not a crossword, a
Crossword puzzle?
TikTok, tic-tac-toe.
Tic-tac-toe.
tic-tac-toe. Yes,
Oh, okay.
tic-tac-toe. With all of the ones I've had removed off my back and my head, they get infected, and then they have to be removed.
Oof.
And I went for
Wow.
years suffering with painful cysts
Mm.
before he finally referred me to a doctor who could help.
That's that good quality medical they're telling us we're paying for here in the US
Yep,
of A.
Yeah,
yep.
see,
Mm-hmm.
boy, I cannot imagine having to tell my doctor over. See, to me, that's like, okay, time for a new doctor. Bye,
Yeah. Yeah.
because that's
Oh,
me.
and the good saving grace in Canada, that same doctor who threw the package at me landed up having to take a little sabbatical for about a year or more while he reviewed his attitude. And
Wow.
then guess who had to train him when he first came back to work at the hospital?
Oh, wow. Karma.
It was a
Karma.
fun moment.
Karma's
Yep.
undefeated.
And
Wow,
and here doctors always cover for each other.
don't
The
they
Yep.
though?
He-
Now
the
that
Oh,
part,
medical the medical mistakes that have happened to me twice that almost killed me.
Mm.
Nothing happened to the doctors. Nothing.
Mm.
well,
Tell
the
them to eat
saving
a good
grace I
lawyer.
have here is the infectious disease specialist is a physician I have known since, actually personally, since he was a student, and he was an extremely dedicated individual, and he actually went. He was the one that really pushed for there has to be some comeuppance. Like
Mm.
he couldn't believe
wonderful.
what had happened. Yeah, and it was horrible because it. Oh yeah, and one visit to Emerge actually that week as well, where and they also told me it was my allergies, as my face was swelling. Yeah,
Crazy.
on only one side.
Mm.
wow,
Yeah.
Targeted allergies.
yeah,
Yeah, targeted. Yeah.
Mm.
I tried to explain to her. So the next time when I came in with the green atom coming out of my face, and she literally said, "I told you it was allergy. You should." And then I dropped the gauze and I looked at her and I said, "No, don't think so." And
Mm.
maybe a heads up next time somebody tells you they're eating excessive amounts of painkiller, i.e., Tylenol 3. Maybe you should learn it's an antipyretic, which means I couldn't have had a fever, you silly wench.
wow, wow. We've got
Oh
to,
yeah.
and you know,
Oh
it's
yeah. I
mm.
was upset.
Yeah,
I don't blame you.
that is just wow. That's all I can say. Well, guys, we are at the halfway point again. So you know what that means? It's a 5-minute break. We're gonna come back and talk
Mhm.
about voter suppression. So I'll see you all in 5 minutes, audience. Come back and we'll see you in a bit. Okay, everyone, we are back and we are going to move into the second portion of our show. Today's topic is, of course, voter suppression. And it's a very important, timely discussion because, well, we have 43 states that have decided, in my opinion, that too many Black people came out to vote. And so now is the perfect time. Forget that there is a COVID 19 virus out there that's making people ill, and forget that people are struggling to make ends meet. Let's concentrate on taking away people's rights. Let's make that our main objective. The most hideous being that in the state of Georgia, that actually passed, and the whole situation where the governor decided to sign it in the presence of 5 other white males, and a legislator of their a legislator actually was taken to jail and charged with 2 felonies. The governor is not backing down from that. He says that she was being disruptive, but yet well, first of all, he shouldn't even be in office because he stole it from Stacey Abrams.
Hmm.
Let's just be cutting clear about that. But I think the attention to Georgia is kind of overshadowing what other states are doing because, like I said, there's 42 other states that have decided that no, people of color, we don't want you to vote. And this isn't, to me, it's not new because this has happened ever since the 15th Amendment has taken place. But this has got to be, I think this is going to go through because I think our Supreme Court is too conservative to overturn any of these rules. Um, I don't
There
know.
have been there
Oh,
have been 253 bills proposed
Yep,
in 43
253.
states. 253,
Actually,
including
it's yeah, 100. Yeah, it's the numbers are horrendous.
Yeah, and
including including New York,
Yeah.
I
yeah,
suppose
a
it's in
blue.
the state.
It's a
yeah, it's
blue state, but people don't realize when they talk about colors, they're talking about voters. The voters vote blue. But Cuomo backed all the Republicans running for the state legislature. So the legislature is Republican.
yeah, and even in California, which I thought, oh well, California is the blue states. They have legislation. I'm like, wait a minute now, hold on, let me think about this one. That one really surprised me. I'm like, California, the blue state of blue states. That's like Indiana getting, I don't know, a progressive law in the books. Like, wait a minute, let me think about this.
I can't even wrap my head around this. I've been following politics since JFK. We're talking 60 years, and I've seen every trick in the book. I cannot, I can't believe this. There's a part of me that says there's no way they can let this happen. It's just such an outrageous step to take. I still can't. I cannot accept it right now. I'm either in a rage or I'm depressed and very depressed over it. I can't deal with this.
Yeah, and
I,
unfortunately, I think the
I'm
Supreme Court is going to just let this pass by because look, if you just look at the makeup of the Supreme Court, it's mostly conservative. You have some oh shoot, I can't even think of, maybe you have 4 liberal justices, and that may be stretching it, but I don't see any of these laws getting overturned. And I know there's the HR1, but that's not going to pass because you're going to need 60 votes for it to pass, and good luck finding 10 Republican
Well,
senators that are going to
we
make it.
have to we have to end the filibuster. Period. If we
But
don't end the filibuster, nothing is going to get done.
but
Nothing in
okay,
any area.
for people like me,
and no,
go ahead.
and one of the things is standing there and saying shame, shame, shame. No, stop using little friggin' words, guys. Use the right words. This is Jim Crow all over again. In fact, it's even worse because it's in a suit and tie, and they know exactly what they're doing, and they know exactly the impact. It's exactly the same as dealing with the COVID virus. They knew who it was going to impact. They knew who was going to die. Same with the voting. They really, it's the corporate Dems. They do not, and it's the corporate Dems and the corporate Republicans. That's who's making these decisions. It's the same with the unions. They've convinced people unions are bad. They're setting it up because people now want to vote. Oh, they made it all boring for how many years and nobody was turning out. Now people are turning out. Now people are wanting changes. So first action you take, limit the vote because golly gee, you don't want those people coming to the party. They're going to spoil the fun.
But what happens if they do the opposite of what they want? And see, this is a theory of mine, and I hope it happens. I hope even more Black people show up to vote. I hope people just get mad. It's like, you know what, you're not, and I know I'm all the way up there somewhere, but I hope this makes people so angry that they'll actually get out and vote.
So it could, and that would be the best case scenario to defeat this because, like you said, no matter how we try to challenge it in court, it's probably going to end up in the conservative dominated Supreme Court, and it's gonna not go the way of the disenfranchised. But the only problem is even if it motivates people, what's motivating people to go vote? That's the problem.
Yep, that
Well,
is.
and the problem is, go ahead, Kat.
One of the things is it is such an obvious targeting. Look at in Georgia, one of the things they attacked was the weekend voting. They cut the hours there over the 2 days, especially on the Sunday. Why? Because it was tradition in Black community churches of souls to the polls. Mm-hmm. What are they going to try and eliminate? Like, that's the thing is, it is such a targeted action. Has any of the
No.
news media taken up that? Remember when that Republican's daughter or son found her dad's playbook for how they were going to do all
Yep.
the gerrymandering?
Yep.
And any, like, where is the mainstream media in this? Where
I don't
are
think
they
we heard
not
anything about it.
screaming? You know, it's not only 1.5, it's 1.5 million Georgians that could lose their ability to vote the way they did last. That was 450,000 Republican voters that will also have issues.
Right.
Like, that's the thing.
Exactly. It's like
a definite. They're culling.
yeah, they're cutting their nose off to spite their face. And speaking of souls supposed, did you guys catch the congressman that said basically
Uh-huh.
it was a sin to vote on Sunday? I'm like, boy, are you serious? Are
See,
you serious?
That was a woman.
I had
that
an
was
answer
Cindy
for
Hyde
that.
said.
You know,
That was a
excuse
woman?
me.
No, I heard a man say that.
No,
No, it's a
it was a
woman.
woman. It was a
No, I'm
woman.
talking about locally. I'm talking about if there was a local person like that I would know. You guys wouldn't know him.
Oh,
Okay,
well,
on
it's
national news, it was
too.
a woman. And she said it's a sin to vote on the Sabbath. Well,
That's the
excuse me,
Saturday.
but for Jews, the Sabbath is Saturday. For
Mhm,
Muslims, the Sabbath is Friday.
mhm.
So we can only vote Monday through Thursday then? Or is Christianity the only one that counts?
Mm, true.
And where did she?
Mm.
That's a good point because you think about what she's saying. I'm like, well, don't you know the Sabbath? That's where we get Saturday is Sabbath day. It's like, girl, what are you talking? See, people like that.
Yeah, but I guess, listen, that sounds like that might be a talking point, especially since you said you got a local official that said it. We know of Cindy Hyde Smith who said it, and she's out of what, Mississippi? And she's a senator out of Mississippi. So sounds like it's a talking point that may fly. Like, let's not forget that that's a lot of the way they rope in these conservatives is through that fake, interpretation of the Bible.
Well, what are they reading? They have there's no concept of see, this is I promise audience Christians are not this stupid. What she's doing is she's using some antiquatical, doesn't even make legitimate sense.
Right.
Okay, she's acting like Sunday's the only day you can vote. Excuse me, there's 6 other days in the week. I mean, let's just say they close the polls down Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Like what? We're not gonna show up on Tuesday. We're not gonna show up on Mondays. We're just gonna show up that one day of the week. No.
Well, they don't forget they closed something like 1,200 polling
Yeah,
sites,
that's the worst part.
all in poor and black neighborhoods. They didn't close any in rich, wealthy white neighborhoods.
Of course.
So that means you have to stand in line for 5, 6, 8 hours. Not everybody can do that. Not everybody's physically able to stand that long. Some people, if in the past it took me 1 hour to vote, and I have to hire a babysitter, and I'll hire for 2 hours just to be safe, and I go, and 5 hours later, I have to get home to my kids, or I have to get back to my job, or I'll get fired. That's what they're counting on.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're counting on because I don't know how it is in other states, but in Indiana, we can basically vote anywhere. Like I can vote, yeah, we can vote anywhere we want, and our votes will still go for that city council. You just show your ID, which is repetitive, but you get a ballot for your district and you vote. You don't have to go to one polling. You can poll anywhere, which I think I'm like, well, when did Indiana start trying to get progressive? I don't know, but I like that one thing I did like, but I'm pretty sure you can't do that in any other states where you
Now,
can
here you have a polling site that you have to go to.
Yeah, we can go anywhere. I could have
And
went.
here you have to drive to get to it.
Yeah, and I think the last time I voted in the primaries, they mailed my ballot, which was the most convenient thing I've ever experienced. I'm like, I want to do this all the time.
Oh, that's another thing that they cut off. They cut off in Georgia, and they're trying to do in Florida. But Florida is the epitome of cutting off your nose to spite your face, because before all these black and white folks were voting this past election, Florida's population is nothing but older folk who voted absentee ballot. So restricting that, they're definitely going to lose a lot of their white loyal base.
It's just like you're right. They're just cutting off their nose to spite their face. And the Georgia law is so bad. They got so petty. They said if you bring somebody a drink of water, to somebody standing,
Yep.
you're gonna get charged with a misdemeanor. Are you serious?
Food and water, and what were some of those polling lines we heard about in the last election?
Like
8
8
hours,
hours.
12 hours, 16
And they were
hours.
dancing and ordering pizza. I was like, I want to be in that line.
Right. So I just want
Yeah,
y'all to
but the
know to
thing
have
is,
my
they
bell ready. I want y'all to have my bell ready because I will be going down to Georgia come the next election cycle and I will be handing out food. So I'm going to need y'all to have some money on my books because I'm going to need some bail.
Right on.
Thank you.
I'm just like, like I said, I wish Biden hadn't came out against stacking the courts because this would have been when we'd have been like, yeah, we need to add some more liberal, but nope. He plays.
I don't know. He came out against the filibuster, ending the filibuster as well. But this new voting thing has propelled him, and there's a lot of pressure. So it's looking more like not even fixing the filibuster,
But
but
see,
like
everybody says that.
getting rid of it.
Yeah, everybody says in the filibuster, and I don't want to be a negative Nancy, but how do you end the filibuster? Don't you have to have Republican support and ended it?
I don't know.
See,
Does
that's.
it?
I mean, everybody says in the filibuster, which in theory I agree.
I don't think so because
just
Homeboy
wanna
blew
know
it away back in 2015. What was his name? The former majority leader out of Nevada.
Oh, Reed.
Yes, Harry Reid ended
Yeah.
it. And they darn sure, did not have over 50 votes.
But I wonder how. I mean, everybody says end it, but nobody's telling me how. And I'm like, usually I'm pretty politically savvy, but I don't understand how you could do that.
I think you just need a majority.
But who's going to be the majority? Think about it.
Kamala will be the decision
Wait a
maker.
minute, though. But you're assuming that Joe Manchin votes to.
He's pressurable. Yo, you guys, he's pressurable. All you have to do, I always say this, you just descend down on that town. He was all against giving the $1,400 stimulus until Kamala went and did some radio interviews. Then all of a sudden he started backtracking and popping to make sure folks knew he was in support of folks getting money. So that's what they have to do. They will do it.
Do you think they want to end the
Wild card is
filibuster?
Kristen. Well, that's the difference between them getting another election ever again, because these states will definitely make sure that they will only be electing Republicans from here on out, unless the Democrats get their heads out of their bottoms.
Yeah, I'm just like, maybe you're more hurtful than me. I'm just like,
I'm not, but I know that they are strategic enough to know, even if they are paid to lose, they will never win another election if this goes. If this stands, these rules down in Georgia and Florida and all these other states, to include New York, I'm still not.
I'm still with tripping over California. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is the bluest of blue states.
So if they want to win another election, it will behoove them to get this filibuster going.
I hope
Biden is leaning towards first changing it. Now he's thinking about maybe ending it. How much can we trust what he says?
That's what I'm with you, Mickey. 'Cause I'm like, wait a minute.
Which means negotiations are happening, and they will figure out a way to throw everybody else under the bus.
True.
And
Exactly.
the
Because
that's exactly what's happening. It's what do we not give the voters this time? And that's literally what it is. It's so like, and where is the media? These are the questions they should be asking. This is the push that they should be doing constantly, showing the facts historically, showing what's going on, and showing who's doing it. And they aren't doing that. Mainstream media is doing their usual head in the sand. Dr. Seuss is more important, and what latest celebrity isn't getting her access to her million?
Oh, I heard his dogs are back in the White House. Isn't that late breaking news?
wait a minute, the dogs were gone from the White House?
So one bit security service agent or so.
Dogs have teeth, so why wouldn't you expect them to bite? I mean,
well, they removed them, but they're home now because that's news, as opposed to people dying from a pandemic and folks being poor and not able to afford their stuff. Let's
Look,
talk
as
about the
far as I'm
dogs.
concerned, I trust Biden is about as far as I can throw him, which isn't far.
But he caves to pressure.
When
And
though he did,
well, I'll tell you,
yes,
even though I still don't think this was a win, but I think he had full aims to bring on Klobuchar or even Pete Buttigieg, Pete Buttigieg as his vice. The black community came together and said, you need to put a black vice president. You must. And he did it because he was only promising a black Supreme Court justice. He was not promising a black VP. Next thing you knew, the powers that be spoke. I don't know who those powers were. Jim Clyburn. You know, I don't. Anyway, so and then he did it. So he bends the pressure. This is huge. This has huge
but
repercussions.
here's what I hear what you're saying, but I'm gonna slightly disagree with it. Because when he was campaigning down in Georgia, and he got up there after our $600 checks had been deposited and said, if you elect me, I promise $2,000 checks. If you elect me, you're going to get $15 minimum wage. He lessens both of those, and everybody's like, okay, but Joe's doing such a great job. Isn't he just great? Huh?
But
Yeah,
that,
if the people around him have even a half a brain, they're going to know that the filibuster is the hill Dems are either going to live or die on.
right,
But they
right.
don't have to have a brain. It's like I keep saying this. They want to lose because it keeps them blaming the other people. It's
Yeah.
always their fault. It's not our fault. It's not me.
I don't know. There's such a push behind this, and then you got to remember, I'm with you because we were all, our hair was on fire when we found out they were cutting the checks, and not meaning giving them out, but cutting the monetary of the checks, and then they were scrapping the $15 fight. But you got to remember that collusion from that mainstream media. They were so quick to say, well, you know, he couldn't. Well, you know, it was the Republicans. And I'd be darned if I didn't hear every liberal walking around saying, yeah, the Republicans are blocking and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, no, the Democrats are blocking themselves. So there's that media. It's powerful.
Mhm.
Well, did you see
Mm.
what Manchin just said? Again, he wants bipartisanship.
Ugh.
He says we
Why?
have to. My response to that was the night Obama was elected, Mitch McConnell and his top Republicans got on national television and proclaimed they would block all Democratic bills.
Yeah.
And they proceeded to do so for 12 years, over 12 years now. When the opposition says we're going to block you, period, and does it every day for 12 years,
But yet
aren't you
they keep.
able to
But
aren't you
yet
able
they
to
keep.
figure out there's no bipartisanship?
But yet Obama and Biden and Manchin, we want bipartisan. Why do you want? If you have the numbers, they're all in your hand. What do you need bipartisanship is okay in some sense because you do kind of want to say, hey, we're trying. But then at some point it's like, you know what? Bump y'all. You don't want Medicare for all? Too bad.
But there is no
You know what? You just
bipartisanship
give
when the
10
other
years.
party. Go ahead, Kat.
Just give 10 years of, you know what, you guys blocked us for 12. And when you're actually willing to come to the table in honesty, then we'll listen to you. But right now, we don't need you.
Right.
You know, and that's
Exactly.
the point.
Look at bipartisanship. Republicans in the House, every single one of them voted against people getting the $1,400,
But
getting
watch
the child tax credit, getting help for COVID. Every senator, every single one voted against it. Every Republican. Where's the bipartisanship there?
there's none, and yet, how many times have I heard Kamala Harris and Joe Biden say the word bipartisanship? I'm like, okay, I'm running out of fingers here. I'm running out of fingers and toes. I done went back several times. If I hear the word bipartisanship one more time, just one more time, I'd be like, look, it doesn't exist. You cannot negotiate with a party that votes against a minimum of $1,400 checks. There's no we're going to negotiate with them. No, we have the numbers. We're going to push through our agenda. You can get right or get left.
Right. Well, it's there's some strategists in Washington that they're listening to who's wrong. That's basically said, hey, look at all these Republicans we got to vote for Biden, but that was because they were so disenchanted with Trump. They still voted Republican down ballot. So they're refusing to pay attention to that. And they're just thinking by saying this whole bipartisan dog whistle, we're going to get these conservatives who were so disenchanted with the Republican Party to vote with us and to vote for us. Even though a lot of these policies have across the board support, they still don't rock with Democrats. They don't like us. They're not going to vote for us. So the simple fact is, you're right. They need to stop this bipartisan bull crap, but somebody's telling them this is a great strategy and it's a winning strategy.
So I'm in the wrong field. I should be a political consultant and tell them, hey, look, you got the
Exactly.
numbers, person. Stop
Exactly.
listening to this.
Well, actually, you'll make more money if you tell them what they want to hear, because they love that. They think that that's the key to the kingdom. And so if you just sell them a dream, and you will make money hand over fist.
But
How do you compromise with somebody who states publicly, I will never compromise?
Exactly.
Exactly. But they compromise all the time. Look at Mitch McConnell. At first, what Trump did was reprehensible, and he should be held accountable. Now it's, if Trump runs again, I'll support him. Tell me that's not compromising, Mitch. Please tell me that's not compromising.
It's crazy.
It's just like, are you serious? And with these voter suppression laws, I don't think the public is paying attention to these. Not on the level that I think we should be. I hope that groups can get and I forget what the bill is called, the HR1 bill.
Yeah.
I hope that passes, but again, without the filibuster being gone, it's not going to pass.
I don't watch mainstream media. So are any of them talking about the voter suppression laws that are being passed?
They're talking about the congresswoman that got, or the Georgia legislator that got arrested, how Reverend Warren, Senator Warnock visited her.
Tomato.
I know, but I'm like, I want to call him by his official title. But
are they pushing what these laws mean? Are they explaining to the people what they're doing?
I doubt. I mean, they're calling it the new Jim Crow, which, okay, the places I've seen, I'm like, yeah, you could have explained it like this, but I'm like, well, at least you're talking about it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't watch mainstream media.
Yeah, I watch it some because, it's either that or Love and Hip Hop. But yeah, I just wish they would talk about it more in the sense of, and I can't think of the lady's name. She's with Black Votes Matter. Black Votes Matter. She's been on TV a lot. On TV a lot talking about it, but they're not talking about the other 42 states that are doing anything. They're just talking about Georgia.
So that's what's under the radar.
I did a search on legislation proposed in New York State, and there's nothing. I can't find anything beyond 2019.
Wow.
Well, we have some here, but it's not nearly as bad as the Georgia bill. I'm like, when you start talking about you can't feed people who are standing in line, like, how evil are you?
Oh, and they also took the power from, what was the guy's name that Trump was trying to pressure?
The Secretary of State.
They took the power from him, and they now have placed the power of, I guess, deciding votes through the Republican legislature. So now, if another thing happens where somebody's challenging an election, the Republican legislature is going to be the deciding factor.
And in Kentucky, it's the governor. Well, in all states, it's the governor who appoints a new senator if one retires or dies. In Kentucky, they're working on a law that the governor can't pick them on his own. It has to be of the same party of the one who's retiring or died, and that the Republicans will get to give him 3 choices from their party that he can pick to replace.
Yeah, and I think in Michigan there's a law that says, oh, and I forget the Michigan laws, slip my mind. If I think of it, I'll tell you what it is. It's like they want to propose something where if it's a close enough ballot that the governor can't, I forget what that law is. It's making me so mad. I had it just on my mind, but I'll skip it because I can't think of it. I'm like, oh, so she must be their legislators must be Republican controlled, because I'm like, how do you get away with this? It's like somebody should tell the Republicans, instead of coming up with voter suppression laws, maybe you want to concentrate on COVID relief. Maybe you want to talk
Or
about
or
something
any
else.
policy. How about any policy? How about a platform?
They
That's
don't
all
have
they
one.
have. That's all they have is voter
No, they have
suppression.
that. They want to restrict the rights of women to make choices over their own bodies. They want to dictate who dates who and who sleeps with who, and they want to do all this crazy stuff that makes literally no sense. That's what they stand on.
Yep.
I think Kat's saying
All
something.
negatives. All negatives.
Yeah,
Where's their positive policies?
exactly. I think Kat was trying to say something. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's exactly the feelings I have. You're all expressing them. It's just over and over and over again. And the thing is, let's be honest, the corporate Dems and the Republicans are all in the same boat. They're all responding to the same piper that has paid them. They're all bought.
Yeah, and
They don't expect anything much more.
right. And that's what made me so frustrated. And maybe somebody can talk to Biden again about being against expanding the court. Because if this goes to court right now,
Mhm.
these laws are going to stand.
Yes.
They will absolutely positively not be challenged. They will stand. You will get idiotic lawyers from Arizona that literally said, but if we don't do these laws, the other party will benefit. You said that out loud. You
We
literally
have
said it
we
out
have
loud.
we have almost 4 full years before the next presidential election. 2 years before the midterms. How about we try to get something done now? And if we
Exactly.
Yeah.
do, and it benefits the people will see that.
That's
If we
exactly
don't
right.
do it, we accomplish nothing. In 22, the Republicans will retake the House and the Senate.
And then 2 years after that, the presidency.
Yep.
Exactly.
Because it's going to happen. If this kind of shenanigans if the Democrats keep being stupid, which let's
All
face
signs
it,
points to yes.
yes, they do. It's like you had two jobs. You had two simple things that you could have done. $15 minimum wage, $2,000 checks.
That's
You
it.
do neither. Okay, genius. Now you want me to vote for you?
Exactly.
And don't sell it to me like Ossoff did. We got the largest relief. No, he promised $2,000 check. Where are they at?
Did Ossoff do
Yeah.
that?
Ossoff and Warnock did that, and I wanted to throw
Warnock
some.
did it?
I was like, man, now you're supposed to be a man of the cloth. Now don't be sitting there selling me that now.
Did
Well, at
you
least
did you
behind the
see
scenes.
did you see that Social Security check? The people who have direct deposit and Social Security, those checks are intentionally held up.
Yep.
I
No.
haven't gotten mine. Everybody
Why?
on Social Security.
To make
They were
room
in,
for the stimulus?
no excuse. They were intentionally held up. They're
Wow.
fighting now to get them sent out.
What?
Yep. Two Congress people said if you don't do it by this date, yeah, because they came back and said they're finally going to send them out.
And no reason. No
No
rhyme.
reason was given. Oh, he was a Trump holdover. Okay, so how about this? Stop using that as an excuse. It's on you now.
Exactly.
It's on
Exactly.
you.
The first two stimulus checks were in my checking account on the first of the month. The first of the month. Today's 27th. Still don't have it.
So you didn't get the stimulus or your Social Security?
No, I got my Social Security.
Oh, okay.
Didn't get the stimulus. And I can see, in the groups I'm in, everybody who's on Social Security is saying the same thing. They haven't
Yeah.
gotten it.
I think
Okay. So they're getting the Social Security, but the people who get Social Security haven't got their stimulus.
Right.
Right.
That is insanity.
Exactly.
And it was intentional.
For what?
You're asking me to explain the politician's mind?
Somebody explain to me how come Amazon doesn't pay taxes. That's a good one too. But the whole Social Security thing, they did like at 11 o'clock when I was watching. They said that they sent out a letter and said, you know, if you don't do it by this date, somebody's going to be coming to Congress to talk about what's wrong with the checks. And then they said, okay, we're going to get them out, and they should be there about. People should start getting their checks by Monday. Although, why would you hold it over in the first place? I don't know.
There should be an investigation on that by itself. And whoever did this better have a good reason, or they need to see some jail time.
How many?
You're playing with federal funds. Anybody else doing that? You best believe if I withheld somebody's money, they're going to have me in front of somebody's judge explaining myself.
Exactly.
I don't understand.
But I'm just, this whole thing makes me sick. And if you're the average voter, why vote? I mean, what would be the point of me just going here? I mean, I'm going to vote, but what's the point of me going to my neighbor saying you need to vote when one, it's harder. You got to go, you know, the place I went, I stood in line for 5 hours and I was almost ready to go home. I was like, wait a minute, my legs hurt. I can't see.
And therein lies the problem. Because like I was saying, even if folks do all these extraordinary measures to overcome this oppression tactic and you find a way around it, what's the motivating factor to get me to come out? Like you said, they've already lied on the checks. They've already lied on the $50 minimum wage. They refuse to enact any kind of policies that will further their agenda. Now people are back to getting shot up again, and they're over there trying to figure out who can play hide the gun. I'm trying to figure out what's there to vote for. What am I coming out for? What am I risking? My time, my money?
Yeah, it's like
to do nothing.
Again, we got this stuff in 2008.
Yes.
We got this stuff in 2012. We got it in 16, 20. It's like, okay, this has got to stop.
And that's why so many voters were apathetic back in 2016, didn't even bother to vote. This is how Trump was able to sail into that seat, because they put more of the same up. And the simple fact is people are not happy. So I don't care what the mainstream media is doing that sits there and makes people think that, oh, back to brunch, everything's good again. We now have a normal president who doesn't tweet every 5 seconds. Well, if he's doing the same thing or maybe even less than what the current or the previous guy did, then I'm not coming out to support you or your team.
Like I said, we don't end the filibuster, nothing will be addressed.
Exactly.
Nothing.
But what happens?
Not the climate crisis, not health care, not minimum wage. Nothing will be addressed. And that if he dies on that hill, we die in 22.
But do you think, and this goes back to my original question, do you think they want to get rid of the filibuster? I don't. Because
it definitely gives them an excuse.
I think they want that excuse. Oh, we tried. I mean, they're trying it now. And I'm like, you got the majority. Sit down somewhere. But I mean, think about how many times the Republicans are obstructionists. But you have the numbers.
But see, that's why the beauty of this show is, because the simple fact is, it's people like you and us that's coming out here saying, no. This is not the end all be all. You can end the filibuster and we can make these policies a thing. And they like to hide behind mainstream media who won't ask that question. It's nothing we can do. You see what Mitch McConnell's doing. Look at Joe Manchin. There's nothing we can do. President Joe Manchin has spoken.
No, but you know who else said this, and I'll let Kat get in on this one because I think she'll have. When she literally said, "Oh, well, he can't be primary." Yes, he can be. He absolutely can be primary. He absolutely can be recalled. And I'm just like, I've never wanted to throw a shoe at a television so hard when I heard her say that. I'm like, first of all, lady, you lost.
Claire
so
McCaskill.
What are you talking about in the first place? You apparently don't know how to win. You still be in office. How does she? I'm like, you don't know the people of West Virginia. Oh, go ahead, Kat. I'm sorry.
The thing is, they don't even care to know. because they've already appointed and their corporate overlords have paid out to say this guy is the one that's going to do it.
Mhm.
And they give the money to that candidate, and then they give the money to the DNC. All the money that that they receive as a group has definitely got contingencies and a whole bunch of things tied in with it. Yes, we'll donate 25,000 to the DNC and 25,000 to him. It's all money, money, money. This is why they didn't like Bernie. They couldn't control the money flow.
Right.
It's the same as with Trump. That's why the GOP is willing to keep hanging their card on Trump. He's got their money reserved by the balls. People are donating to Trump. They aren't donating to the GOP.
Right.
And that's what he's done. And that's why he's not going to say yay or nay whether there's an election or which one of his family's going to run, because they aren't going to give up any of that money. And it's the DNC isn't going to give up the money that Manchin and the pharmaceutical daughter and everybody else brings in. What do you want to bet that's a couple $100,000 a year?
Or more.
I mean,
And
think
let
about-
me do my weekly nag. Never donate to the DNC or the DCCC. Donate directly to the candidate of your choice. It's the only way you're going to know that the money is going for who you're backing. Otherwise, the DNC will use it to back their corporate candidates.
Mhm.
And look what the DNC had the opportunity to do when their last horrible leader stepped down. Who did they get? Loser Jamie Harrison. Are you for real, yo? Are you for real? It's like they say, it's like this is what the Democrats are saying. Let's go out there and put up the worst candidates we can possibly find. Let's say we have all the ideas, but when we get there, we do nothing. That'll do it. That right there. Like, are you see? It sometimes it makes me just wonder, and I ask myself this question every week: do Democrats just like to lose? And it always seems like the answer is yes, because they do everything within their power to lose. You have a court that you could expand, but you don't want to do it. You have a $15 minimum wage that you could get through. You don't want to do it.
And you would get all those votes.
Exactly. If Biden would just eliminate college debt, he doesn't even need the Senate to do that.
Yeah.
He could just do that with a stroke of the pen. But bet you he won't. And the $15 minimum wage that they're talking about, I still have money to say they're going to take it down to 11. I'm like, it's going to be 11. They're not going to go for 15. And that's why it infuriates me when the progressives are just like wilting to their power. I'm like, I don't know what it's going to take to wake them up. It's like, y'all better wake up, because they're not wanting your ideas. You got elected because you promised Green New Deal, $15 minimum wage. You need to remember that.
And they already blocked them from the committees. So what are you holding over their heads? There's really nothing to hold over your heads, because they've already boxed you out. So at least, first of all, they need to be shaming and blaming. They need to be naming, shaming, and blaming. If I put this up, this person stood in front of it. No, Nancy Pelosi's not Mama Bear. She stood in front of this. Pramila Jayapal, you're great. I love you. Start naming names.
Yeah, it's like they don't want to do. It's like progressives don't want to fight dirty. We just fight among ourselves. Like, okay, if we would put, and I'm saying we, like we're elected office, we're not. But if we would fight against the corporate Dems like we fought against each other, I guarantee things would start to change.
Well, it's not so much the progressives aren't doing the fighting. It's the corporate Dems that constantly squash the progressives, insult them, block them. It's constant.
Right. But I think, Mickey, what Talisha's point is, and I agree with her, is when they do that, you need to publicly shame them for doing that.
Yeah, I agree.
If you write a bill like Cori Bush wrote a bill that Holly should be removed, and she got Ilhan Omar to co-sponsor it.
Ilhan.
I always say her name wrong.
You
Sorry
do.
about that. But she got her to co-sponsor it. Did it go anywhere? No. You want to know why? We know why.
Right.
Start calling names like that lady from San Francisco who says she's progressive because she's got a Medicare for All poster in her basement. Her first name is Nancy, and she likes to eat ice cream out of her freezers. Her. She was the one that stopped this.
Exactly.
But it won't be done, and I don't know what it is that they're scared of. You aren't in power, so they can't put you any further out than they put you. You literally have nothing to lose.
Think Nina will.
Exactly.
Oh, I want Nina to get elected so badly because I see Nancy not pushing her around any bit.
At all. And that might give them the fortitude to start standing up because they've got a leader.
I agree. If Nina's there and stays the leader, they should follow her. If they don't, then we know that they weren't progressives at all.
Could you imagine if Nina became the speaker? Like, I know I haven't even got her in Congress yet, but I'm already putting her as Speaker of the House.
I've already got her in the White House. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like,
me too. Me too.
Bump all this Congresswoman stuff. No, she needs to be president.
So I would totally vote for her, but I don't see that at all.
Long before she even announced she was running, I was saying she needs to run for president.
Sure did. I did too. Who else embodies what? Besides Bernie, who else do I closely put with the progressive movement? Nina?
Yeah, but let's be real. We're still a racist country. And mouthy black Nina Turner won't even see the light of day of a Democratic ticket. She just won't.
Yep, and I'm still waiting on the tricks that the Democrats are going to pull out now that the primary date has been set. I'm like, I'm waiting. I'm like, I know y'all know. I know y'all
know the DNC is going to throw their money and support against her opposition. I mean, for her opposition.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just
like, I think Joe Manchin almost let it slip. Definitely Donnie Deutsch let it slip. If Bernie got in, they were going to vote for Trump. So you think black Nina Turner, who doesn't mince words at all, won't get the kitchen sink? You think what they did to Bernie was bad? Yeah, I'm scared of what they would do to Nina.
I don't think she's gonna back down.
I don't think she'd run. I think that's a
no. I mean,
for her
and I wouldn't ask her to. I mean,
she'll be fine. Congress, she's got it. She's got all the money. It's a black district, and the previous Congresswoman Marsha Fudge, I guess she was kind of progressive. So Nina, I think Congress she'll sell. I don't think she'd run for president, and I wouldn't ask her to.
I would. Could you imagine a president that I'd be like, yes, do whatever she says?
Yeah, but she says it, you got to look at the cost-benefit analysis. And too many times, black women have laid their bodies on the line for this country to only spit in their face. I would not ask her to.
I see what you're saying, but I'm like, I can't think of anybody who's more qualified. I can't think of anybody who I would.
I'm with Tracy on this one.
Yeah, I'm just like,
there is nobody out there like
nobody.
Nina.
I mean, you would like to think, like the AOCs, but I'm like, no, honey, you letting fame get your head a little bit, and I'll you need to calm it down a little bit, take a step back. If not her, Bernie's gonna be like in his 80s, so he's out. Who else?
Well, I mean, we're actually probably looking at 28. We're not looking at 24 because it's either going to be Joe or Kamala. So we're looking at 28. And in 28, would an AOC be ready? I don't think she's ready. Nina, but I would never ask her to do that. If she did, I'd be her number one cheerleader with the pom-poms, and I'd be running from state to state canvassing for her. But
I would volunteer to be her campaign manager. She would not have to pay me 1 cent. I would drive Uber on the side and live just to be in her presence. I would do it because that's how. Yeah.
I have to say though, I have the same concerns as Talisha. The last time we actually had people really speaking truth to power and really speaking and wanting change, well, Mickey and I lived to see them live and die.
Right.
For it. And that scares me. That scares me. And if we're looking at the future, I would like it to be, a little bit further down the road, and we have larger body of progressives to pull from. The big push
Exactly.
right now is dealing with the DNC and getting progressives elected down ballot, because that's the only way and let's be honest, all those old cronies, like, seriously, they could do a Geritol. I don't know. You guys probably don't remember. Mickey, you gotta go.
I remember
Geritol,
Geritol.
Geritol commercial, like, for the Senate, like, seriously, and the Congress, like, and Pelosi, she's gonna be 80.
She is
Schumer,
80.
all of it, like, seriously, leave, guys. You know, there's
Feinstein's
She
about to
has
be
a
90.
Medicare for all poster in her basement.
For
That makes her
decades.
progressive.
Is that next
She-
to?
It's
Is that next
it's been
to
there
her
for
other
decades.
Sub-Zero? Yeah.
But she
Like,
still has it though, Mickey. It's right there in her basement.
Yeah, for decades.
She probably drew like
Yeah.
a mustache on
See,
it.
I even thought of Katie Porter, but I'm like, I don't think Katie got what it takes.
So I like me some Katie Porter, and
I
she's
like-
exactly
I do
where
too.
she needs to be. She needs to stay in Congress or gravitate to the Senate because she's holding folks accountable. She's exactly. That's why I didn't want Bernie to join Joe's cabinet. That was hard to say, because they would have, taken away from what he's really doing. Bernie's trying to accomplish big things. Now, of course, they poo-poo it every time, but you think he could have been as effective as a transportation secretary? I think that's what he was going for. Labor.
No, they were saying labor.
You think he could be as effective in Joe's cabinet getting drowned out as more effective than he is as a budget chairman? No way.
Could you imagine if Joe Biden had put Bernie as his running mate?
I think they would have won hands down, and
They
there
would-
would not have been a Trump threat.
I would have
would have
voted for
ju-
Biden for that.
I'd have been like, you know what? Let me put aside everything I have against you, and I'm gonna just swallow real hard, and I'm gonna hold my nose, and I'm gonna just go.
I think my nose bled that day.
Yeah, because I was like, I knew he wasn't gonna nominate somebody. Well, Nina was out when she called him a bowl of poop, half bowl.
Half bowl. Oh,
Half
yeah.
bowl. I was like, well, she's out. Barbara Lee wasn't gonna get.
It was never in. Nina
I was like,
never in.
I think Nina took herself out the running when she called him a half bowl of poop.
Nina was ever
But
in.
Barbara Lee, even Barbara Lee, I would be like, yes, I'd have been excited about that.
Barbara Lee. Yeah, but I still have gripes with Barbara Lee because she didn't back Bernie in either of those elections. And I get it, y'all from the same state, but I have more anger towards her for not backing Bernie
She's from
than I
Vermont.
have for no, California. So she backed Kamala. I have more anger for her for not doing it than I have for Ayanna for backing Elizabeth Warren. I don't know what it is, but every time I think of Barbara Lee, I think of all the wonderful things, especially that she voted against the war, against all opposition, because she was the only one.
Only one.
But it bugs me that she backed Kamala, knowing what Kamala represents. Kamala,
But Alana backed Elizabeth Warren, who lied on Bernie and said, he told me that a woman shouldn't run. She knew she was lying
now
when
I
she
want to
said
say
that.
Ayanna backed her before she told that lie.
Oh, but she
I
still
think
told.
she still told it.
I'm like, she still told it. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
That's when I stopped loving Elizabeth Warren, because we always
Yeah.
talk about our support in the beginning. I was supporting both of them. They were both getting donations from me, and I literally was on the fence. I was like, well, I know Bernie, but Warren seems to have some great progressive qualities, and she's younger. So I was like so on the fence. But then when that heifer did her little Medicare for all plan, that was like, it was guaranteed, but I wouldn't have to raise your taxes by 1 cent. You're lying. And then when she lied on Bernie about him being a sexist when he told her to run in 2016, I was done. I was done with
Me
Liz.
too. She was my second choice behind Bernie.
It was
I love
never
her.
even on my radar, to be honest.
Wow.
It was always Bernie first and then Castro. Castro was always my second,
Castro was a good dude.
although I thought he's got the wrong last name.
Mhm. Mhm.
Nobody in this country gonna vote for somebody named Castro.
A
But
bench. I mean, we never thought a black guy would see the light of day, even though he was only, I don't want to say only, he's biracial. We never thought he'd see the light of day, and he did. So
white.
Castro's to be determined.
Yeah, but I mean, Castro was always second, and then after Castro, it was
Was
really
there
no.
anybody?
There was really nobody else. I mean, Williams says she kind of intrigued me, but
Oh, I
then
love her.
I'm like, girl, you need to it's a planet called Earth, and
I
you
love
probably
her.
want to live on it a little bit, because where you at, nah, we cool.
I don't know. I like her philosophy. That listen, that's the
Yeah.
worst thing you can hit me over the head with than love. Okay, and the power of positive energy. So I love her spirit and everything. And then let's not forget she's like the only one that was like, forget a study for reparations. Let's just get reparations. I think Castro might have
Yeah, I'll give her that. I will give her that. I was like, okay, that's good. But there were some people in that race, I'm like, they just paying you to run, Cory Booker. There's no way you actually think you gonna actually win something.
well, he had a Spartacus moment during the Kavanaugh hearing. So that to him meant that he should be president.
Who
What you
told
say,
Amy
Kat?
Klobuchar to run? Who told Amy Klobuchar to run? That's who I want to talk to. Who was the person that said, you know what people want to hear about? Your Midwestern values. That is, I promise that's all she talked about.
I don't
Oh,
know,
Don't
because
for-
wasn't
don't
she a
forget,
strong third in Iowa?
she was,
after the third primary, she was in either third or fourth.
She was a
yeah.
strong third.
How you gonna be a strong third and you forget about the guy in first? The
Mm.
guy in first, you just totally. I'm like, the DNC definitely got in their part. Okay, let's block Bernie by getting all these no nitwit candidates.
Mm.
Even or what's the guy that owned has the billionaire? Not
Steyer.
Steyer, the other one. The
Oh,
race.
Bloomberg.
Yeah,
Bloomberg.
he got in just to get to block Bernie. There's no way he got in for any other
Well,
thing.
he bought his way in.
He did buy
bought
his
his
but
way in. It was closed.
And Bruce,
Already a couple of
DNC
people
for
had.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Kat.
DNC's for sale. Bloomberg had the money. Bloomberg
Yep.
bought it.
It was closed. 2 people had to drop out because they didn't have enough money. And then in the last minute, he donated, I forgot how many millions, and all of a sudden they broke the rules to let him in.
Yes, but they couldn't do anything. And then they're trying to, oh, we had nothing to do with Bernie losing There's no way that he should have lost. Absolutely not. You can't leave the first 4 states and then here comes the 5th one, and all of a sudden you're not really.
Yeah, but Bernie didn't want it. He was scared. Like, first of all, like you said, first 4 states, I would have rolled that all the way to the convention, okay?
Sure
and
would've.
then tried my hand at the convention. And he let them talk him out and shame him out of the race. Oh, it's Whoopi Goldberg pushed you? Like, get out of here. So Bernie didn't want it.
Yeah, and I wonder, like, why? I mean, I know he's running to bring the issues to the table. And I get that.
In 16. I think in 2020, he really wanted to be the president of the United States, but he didn't want it enough.
Yeah,
I think he wanted it, but he wanted party unity
Mm-hmm.
but
more.
he's not a part of the party. He's not a
He's not.
Democrat.
He's not.
But
And
he
that's what
ran
they
as a Democrat.
kept saying. They kept saying that he's not even a real Democrat. Well, neither are all of you, but they still keep letting you
No,
ride that D next to your
No,
name.
they are real Democrats. They take corporate money. Their votes are for sale. That makes them real
Yeah.
Democrats.
True.
And a win by Tracy.
I mean, if you think about it, they are the real Democrats
Mm.
because they
Yeah,
do.
first.
I mean, think about it. I mean, if you think about, I still want to know what did Obama say to Bernie to get him to get out the race?
I don't think he said anything. I think it was the mainstream media. It was a lot of pressure coming at him. And then he listened to Jeff Weaver's old ignorant behind, like, and Jeff Weaver was like, you need to get out. You need to get out. It's COVID. We can't even campaign.
Dude, Obama called Buttigieg.
Yup.
And
Yeah.
the next
Drop
day,
out.
Pete dropped out. And I think I told you, I looked it up. Never in recent history has somebody in second place in the primaries dropped out this early in the race.
And
Never.
then endorsed the
Never.
last place person. I'm like,
Mm.
huh?
Right.
Mhm.
Right. It was the fix. The fix was in.
But
To this day,
Again.
Jim Clyburn, I can't see him in the street.
well,
I
he's
think
the
it's
one that
Clyburn.
said that defund the police is why the Democrats lost so many seats. So I
There's
was
so many reasons. There's so many reasons. But if I see him in the street, me and that little guy will be tussling all over the ground. Do you hear
Don't
me?
be beating up on the elderly now.
Well, he beating up on the poor. So guess what? I'm righteous. I'm righteous for the
She
poor.
would have a good discussion audience with Jim Clyburn. She would never actually go to physical violence. I'm going to say that for the people watching this show, because I don't want anybody to say, "Well, on that episode."
Yeah, the
But
thoughts of Talisha are expressed only by Talisha.
yeah, that's it.
Only Talisha.
But not Tracy Media. We don't hold none of them. We don't hold to knocking people out in the streets.
But Jim Clyburn. Kat, since you can't see me, I just gave him a little hand gesture.
She gave him a fist because she know the other one gonna be blurred. Because the one finger salute we not gonna do.
I do not do that. I do not do that.
But for the regular audience, this is the end of another episode of Tracy Takes On. But we have this
It's the Progressive Queens.
Progressive Queens. You know, I done call my own show wrong. I wanted to move on to the last segment of the show. Audience, y'all can be like, she called her own show wrong. It's been that kind of week for me. So normally this would be the end of the Progressive Queens, but I wanted to do one last tribute to Women's Month, which is in March. And this is the last Women's week in Women's History Month. And I wanted to talk about 3 people who I think have done a great job representing women. And they happen to be on this podcast with me today. I think all 3 of you who took a chance on somebody who has literally no experience podcasting, who calls her own show by the wrong name, who puts up with things have been more eye-opening to me than anything that I could have ever imagined. I don't consider a whole lot of people to be my sisters. I'm not going to cry, audience. I'm not going to cry.
I hear a shaky voice.
But there's very few people that I allow myself to get close to. And I definitely feel a sistership with all 3 of the ladies on this podcast. So I wanted you 3 to know how much I appreciate you all. And I think that you're the embodiment of what a modern day woman is.
Oh, same to you, sis.
Thank you.
And thanks for letting us share our views. There's plenty of times where we feel like we're shouting into the void and not heard. And you let us come up here and rant every week and give us therapy so we don't abuse our animals and our children. So thank you.
Okay,
and we learn new things.
Absolutely, every week.
Kat, you were saying something. Go ahead.
Same thing as Felicia. Thank you so much for giving us the space to do it. And yeah, well done. I'm glad I'm not off on screen. You brought tears to my eyes, Tracy. Thank you very much. And my gosh, meeting all of you was one of the many benefits that have happened in the last couple of years of my life. And I treasure it every day.
Yep. And audience, we doing this feel good stuff now, but in about 2 or 3 minutes, we're going to get real with y'all. Because this is the bonus part of our show. So this is how it works. Normally after the show, we are done speaking and we go off and we have some conversations afterwards that you don't get to see. So now the cursing ban is lifted so they can just go. I won't, but they will. Yeah. And this will only be available to those who are in the Patreon. So everyone won't get to see this bonus content that we're about to dive ourselves into. So this is more of a freer discussion. I'm not sure whether I'm going to name it, can't name it the post-game show because that's TYT. So we'll just call it the bonus episodes for now until I come up with something better. But forgive me for calling the show the wrong title because I'm thinking about the show. So, and I didn't cry.
You did good, girl.